What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with yet another schedule preview and record prediction, and today we're going to be doing the 2020 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State was a fairly decent team last year. They didn't really do anything crazy, but Chuba Hubbard is coming back, and he was the leading rusher in the regular season in all of college football. Then when you factor in that LD Brown is also coming back, they probably have the best running back duo in the entire country, in my opinion. Then you look at who else is coming back. Of course, Spencer Sanders, the quarterback, is coming back. AJ Green, the cornerback, that's on the defensive side. He's coming back. A lot of other guys on defense coming back. Oklahoma State is in the top 10 in returning production. So I think they're going to be really good this year. So let's go ahead and let's see if Oklahoma State can contend for a Big 12 title or if Oklahoma State's talent isn't going to show out. All right, here's the schedule for the Cowboys. Of course, they're in the Big 12, so that means everybody plays everybody. When you look down there, their 2019 record was 8-5. As I said, they didn't have a bad season. It was a fairly good season, in my opinion. Then up there, you're going to see their home games are going to be in orange, and their away games are going to be in black. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's take a look at their schedule. First game of the season is going to be a Thursday game. It's going to be a home game for the Cowboys, and it's going to be against Oregon State. So Oregon State is a team that, to me, is only getting better. They're starting to be more competitive with teams like Oregon and USC, giving in some good games. Oregon State was in a lot of good games last year, and they're only getting better. Now, when you have to match up against Oklahoma State, I don't think there's any contest in this game. I think Oklahoma State is far and away the better team than Oregon State is. I don't see Oregon State being able to match just the sheer talent that Oklahoma State brings to the table. I like the Cowboys in this one. Then, in your second game of the season, you get a home game against Tulsa, an in-state game here for the Cowboys, and I don't see them having a problem with Tulsa. Tulsa, not a bad team. They're not that great of a team either. They're a pretty average team. They have their moments, and they have their up moments. They have their down moments. And Oklahoma State, again, just got too much talent. I like the Cowboys in this one. Then they get to play Western Illinois. This is another home game. Western Illinois is an FCS team, and this one is no contest. This one is an easy decision. I like the Cowboys. Then they get their bye week, and I don't know what it is with Big 12 teams getting their bye week so early in the season. The two other teams we've done, Oklahoma and Texas, have their bye weeks, Oklahoma in week 3 and Texas in week 4. Oklahoma State also has their bye week in week 4. So I don't know what the deal is. I think the schedule maker just made it that way, but you never want your bye week this early, especially if you're in a conference like the Big 12, because now you have to play 9 conference games in a row, which is going to be hard on the Cowboys. So you don't want your bye week here at all. After your bye week, you get a road game against TCU. So TCU, of course, is going to still have Gary Patterson, a head coach. They have some pretty decent talent coming in, and that's coming back. They also have a lot of talent that's leaving them, but I think TCU should be a fairly decent team. I think they're going to be a very competitive team in the Big 12. I don't see TCU pulling off anything crazy like contending for a Big 12 title, but I think TCU is going to get better. I think TCU is going to get a lot better, and they have Oklahoma State at home. So Oklahoma State, as I mentioned, returning a lot. I think this game is going to be closer than a lot of people think. I'm going to favor Oklahoma State in this one because of the sheer talent, which is really going to show out this year because of the current state in the world. So I like the Cowboys in this one. Then they get a home game against Iowa State. All right, this game is also interesting because, as I've talked about in the other Big 12, videos I've done, Iowa State to me is going to be a fairly decent team. Of course, they're getting Brock Purdy back, and I think everyone is expecting him to take a step up. Breece Hall, as I've mentioned, is a running back that no one talks about. I think he could be a 1,000-yard rusher this season. And then Iowa State, their wide receiver core is pretty good as well, and their defense, it's got some work to do, but it definitely has the potential to be a great defense. So overall, I really like this matchup. I think this matchup is going to be a fun, competitive matchup to watch. What pushes it over the top for me and why I'm going to favor Oklahoma State is because it's at home. And I think the quarterback and running backs are really going to show out. I think Brock Purdy is a little bit better than Spencer Sanders, but then when you compare the running backs, to me, there's no contest. Chuba Hubbard and LD Brown are far better than Breece Hall and whatever else Iowa State can bring to the table, so I like the Cowboys. Then you get a road game against Kansas. Kansas, of course, being coached by Les Miles. I think we still have to give Les Miles a couple years. Les Miles just does not have the talent at Kansas that he had at LSU. So I think we got to give him a couple years to get some recruits coming into Kansas, and then maybe Kansas can get back to a bowl game. But as of right now, I don't see any way they can compete in the Big 12, especially with what Oklahoma State is bringing back this year. I like the Cowboys. Then they get another road game against Oklahoma. Bedlam is going to be insane this year. I can already feel it. I feel like Oklahoma State is going to take a step up, while Oklahoma is going to take a tiny step down. So I think this is a very even matchup. I think both these teams are very evenly matched. This is going to be an absolute fantastic game to watch. I honestly can't wait to watch this one. This is up there with one of my top games to watch this upcoming college football season. It's going to be insane. As far as who I think is going to win, it's very close. I'm favoring Oklahoma because Oklahoma State has to play Oklahoma on the road. I'm favoring Oklahoma because it's a home game for the Sooners. I'm favoring Oklahoma because I think they have just more sheer talent. Now, Oklahoma State, I think is going to make this one very, very competitive. And I'm not going to be surprised if Oklahoma State pulls away with a win in this one. But I think when you look at everything, when you compare these two teams, I think Oklahoma is the better team. I like the Sooners in this one. I'm not going to be surprised if Oklahoma State wins it, though. Then they get a game against Texas Tech. Everyone's talking like Texas Tech's quarterback is going to be one of the better ones in the Big 12. But then when you look at the other talent that surrounds him, there's not really a lot. Spencer Sanders, to me, isn't that great of a quarterback. Like, he's pretty decent, but what makes Spencer Sanders great is the talent that surrounds him. Spencer Sanders has so many weapons, and he can rely on his running backs, Chuba Hubbard and LD Brown. He can also throw to guys in the wide receiver, and Oklahoma State has the defense that a championship team needs. Of course, Oklahoma State's defense has got some work to do, but Oklahoma State is pretty packed. I don't see them having a problem with Texas Tech. Then they get a road game against Baylor. So Baylor's an interesting team to me as well, as a lot of Big 12 teams are. Baylor, of course, is losing Matt Rule. They're losing a couple coordinators. And then as far as players go, they're losing Denzel Mims. Charlie Brewer is coming back, but without Denzel Mims, someone else needs to step up. They're bringing in Dave Aranda, who's going to be the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator over at LSU. So Baylor's going to have a really solid defense. It's the offense that worries me for the Bears. I know it's a road game, and I think the Bears could be a pretty decent team, but I like the Cowboys in this one. Then you get a game against West Virginia. I don't think this one should be a problem for Oklahoma State. I think West Virginia is going to get better this year, but this game shouldn't be a problem for Oklahoma State. I have the Cowboys winning this one easily. Then they get a road game against Kansas State. So Kansas State, of course, a team that gave Oklahoma its only regular season loss last year. And Kansas State still has some good players, like Skylar Thompson's coming back, and the talent that surrounds him is overall pretty good. Defense worries me a little bit for the Wildcats. But then when you just compare all the positions in general, I think Skylar Thompson is a tad bit better of a quarterback. He has more potential than Spencer Sanders does. But again, in every other position, Oklahoma State beats Kansas State hands down. I like the Cowboys. Then they get a home game against Texas for their final game of the season. It's going to be a Friday game. I think this game is going to be really fun to watch. Texas, again, just has the better quarterback. Spencer Sanders is pretty average, in my opinion. I think Spencer Sanders could show out this year, but I think Sam Ehlinger far and away better quarterback. But when you look at what Texas is losing and just the sheer amount of production that Oklahoma State is bringing back, I'm favoring the Cowboys in this one. Again, I'm not going to be surprised if Texas ends up winning this game, but I think Oklahoma State shouldn't have a big problem with Texas at home. So now with everything being said and considered, I have Oklahoma State going 10-2. So the reason I have them going 10-2 is, of course, the one loss is going to be to Oklahoma. But then when you look at the other, in my opinion, top teams in the Big 12, like Texas and Iowa State, they get them both at home. And I'm leaning towards the Cowboys in both of those games, but they have some tricky games on the road. So they have to play TCU on the road. That's not going to be easy. They have to play Baylor on the road. That's also not going to be easy. Then Kansas State on the road. I don't think that one's going to be easy either. So I see them dropping another game on the road. And I think 10-2 is pretty safe. I have Oklahoma State contending for a Big 12 title this year. I think that Oklahoma State-Texas game is really going to decide who goes to the championship game against Oklahoma. So now let's move on to our record range. What this is I take this team's worst case scenario along with the team's best case scenario. Worst case scenario I have for the Cowboys is 7-5. If Oklahoma State just did what they did last year, and with all the talent that they have, they don't really do anything with it and they don't exploit it in the way that they should, I see them going 7-5. To me, those 5 losses are TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Baylor, and Texas. Now, you could maybe swap out TCU, Baylor with Kansas State or maybe Oregon State, but to me, those are the 5 most likely losses. Again, TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Baylor, Texas. But this, again, is worst-case scenario. Of the sheer amount of talent that Oklahoma State's bringing back, I don't think that this is going to happen. But, again, if Oklahoma State just doesn't use their talent in the way that they should have, like they did last year, 7-5 is worst case for Oklahoma State. So now let's move on to the best-case scenario. And the best-case scenario for me is 12-0. So I really could see the Cowboys going 12-0. I'm really high on this team. I think this team is going to be such a fun team to watch, probably one of the more fun teams to watch in all of college football. And the reason that the best case scenario for me is 12-0, I was very close to putting them 11-1, but then when I took a closer look at their schedule, sure, their games on the road could be tricky, but they're against average opponents, and they have, again, the top 2 contenders, or 2 of the top 4 contenders in the Big 12 at home, Iowa State and Texas. They get them at home. And then if you can get past Oklahoma on the road and get through Texas, final game of the season, 12-0 is very, very plausible for the Cowboys. I think it's definitely possible. Their non-conference is not hard. All their games on the road, yes, are tricky. Oklahoma's the one bump in the road for me. I think it's totally plausible for the Cowboys to go 12-0, but my prediction for the Cowboys is 10-2. So that's going to do it for my schedule preview and record prediction for the 2020 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Quick heads up, in 3 days, I am going to be live streaming right here on YouTube at about 7:30 or 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be predicting the Armed Forces schedule. So that's Navy, Army, and Air Force. I really encourage you guys to go check it out. Again, Memorial Day, 7:30 or 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Also, if you're new to the channel or enjoy the content that I put out, do consider subscribing. And if you haven't done so already, please leave a comment down below. I love to hear your guys' thoughts. I truly do read through every single one. I love the feedback. And until next time, play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.